Dear basketball, from the moment I started rolling my dad's tube socks and shooting imaginary game-winning shots in the Great Western Forum, I knew one thing was real. I fell in love with you.
Nah, I'm feeling B tier. Basketball is quite an interesting case study in Teapot. She went from being debatably the main character of the season for a very long time, to getting eliminated by receiving literally half the votes of TV. Just one of the many lives this character has claimed. That's really annoying, but thankfully for me, a story for another time. Basketball's fall-off is unlike any other in Teapot. Like, yeah, people hate tennis ball now, but he's also still in the game. Basketball had such an amazing journey throughout the course of the show, and she went out with not a bang, but a gunshot through a pillow. Now, unfortunately for the human race, there's only one full analysis I could find for the character, and that was made before her untimely elimination in Teapot 14. So it seems to me that basketball and her subsequent robbing haven't been talked about as much as they should have, which sucks because even though I'm not a huge fan of the character, again, B tier, she had one of the most tragic eliminations in the series to date, and frankly, I gotta talk about it. We start in BFB where basketball joins her Bali brethren in a better name than that. And that's pretty much all there is for a while. For a long time, basketball served the purpose of being just another member of the team that can follow 8-Ball and piss off Golf Ball. She really was just a blank slate follower to make 8-Ball have more control. The same could also be said for Robot Flower, TV, and Grassy, but they all at least had one aspect of them that made them stand out. TV was a series mainstay at this point and had a unique gimmick. Robot Flower wasn't too special personality-wise, but she was still a robotic version of an existing character, which at the very least made her interesting to think about. And Grassy was cute. That leaves basketball as one of the most boring newcomers in the season. Viewers even picked up on this fact, and she was only safe 5th in her BFB8 elimination, which doesn't sound bad until you remember that this was vote to eliminate, and basketball had done close to nothing up to that point. In this voting style, boring characters are usually some of the first people safe, and she was less than 100 votes off from Robot Flower, who the episode directly stated caused them to lose, even if it was understandable. Basketball was not very favorably seen at the time. J&J must have realized that when they looked at the votes and decided it was time for her to exist. BFB8 is the first episode where basketball starts to develop a little more of a personality. She's a little more astute and cynical of whatever the rest of the gang is up to. This is pretty fun. I like how she has, actual presence now. To be fair, she did have a small part in BFB 7, where her relationship with RBF starts to become a thing. But even with this change, I never gave basketball much thought. She definitely improved, don't get me wrong, but for whatever reason, I fucking hated her. So yeah, I made a character ranking after BFB 12 came out, and she ended up with a sorry-ass 60th place. I even labeled her as hated. But basketball really doesn't get into full swing until BFB 13. This is when her iconic and later deserted rivalry with Golf Ball forms. Basketball being the Among Us the previous episode, as well as her blind following of 8-Ball in the past, leads good old GB to not like her too much. It's only present in a few scenes here, and does eventually fizzle out in Teapot. I guess Golf Ball had a few things going on that were more important, but that's a story for another time. Imagine how funny it would be if she joined BFB. Teapot 1 does an excellent job at setting up basketball's role in the season. We start off with her standing up to Golf Ball and leaving her team. She then grabs her friends and creates her own, cementing herself as the leader. This is one of my favorite aspects of Teapot 1 comes into play. Basketball's dynamic with Snowball. I absolutely love the little back and forth they have at the elevator and how basketball at first hates being on a team with SB, but later on becomes pleasantly surprised when he actually helps. I think that this could have grown to become one of the best dynamics in the show. With Snowball being brash and aggressive yet a surprisingly valuable member of the team, basketball could develop mixed feelings on the guy like how she does here. But this potentially amazing dynamic was more or less forgotten in the Dark Age. See, the Teapot Dark Age did this thing where they just looked at Teapot 2 and used that as their model on how to continue with the characters. So if there was an established dynamic that wasn't used in Teapot 2, such as Team Leader Naily, Coiney's BFDIA nostalgia, or Basketball vs. Snowball, it was just guaranteed to be abandoned forever. Luckily, Teapot 2 still gave us that whole Eggy thing, which, oh man, talk about aging poorly. This plotline would sort of continue in Teapot 3 and, I guess, Eggy's one line in Teapot 5. At least there was an attempt though, unlike her whole thing with Teardrop, which fortunately for me is a story for another time. Let's go back to Teapot 2. This episode makes the strongest team very dysfunctional as Eggy, Basketball, Snowball, and Robot Flower all have their own kind of issue going on. I think this was potentially building up to Basketball losing control of the team, allowing for Snowball to take charge and see much better results. But that's just an idea. However, despite Teapot's first 2 episodes drastically improving the character, 2022 me still couldn't stand her, placing her at an ever so slightly better 55th place. Genuinely don't know what my deal was back then. Then we have the dark age of Teapots 3 through 6. As I previously mentioned, this era does continue some of Basketball's plot lines, but very poorly. It's almost like a light version. The only standout one is Robot Flower's mechanical mind subplot, which at this stage is only tangentially related to Basketball. Other than that, Basketball is just a generic team leader. She gets bottom 3 in Teapot 3, and then bottom 2 in Teapot 6, just narrowly outlasting a character who did nothing the previous episode. Off topic for a second, but Teapot 18 is nowhere near as bad as these episodes. This shit is way overhated. Teapot 7 is a great episode, and I'm not gonna let anyone tell me otherwise. I'll die on this fucking hill. Teapot 7 rocks. Robot Flower's whole thing goes into full swing with her thinking she's worthless and Basketball dealing with that, which is an amazing arc from start to end. Robot Flower has a very interesting progression, but that's a story for another time. Combine that with Basketball's huge involvement with 1 early on, and this character, for lack of a better term, is balling. She's a massive focus in Teapot 13, being kidnapped and ending the storm, all to save Robot Flower. At this point in the show, Basketball is on top of the world. Throughout every era, she has been one of the most focal characters in the show. She wasn't in danger of being eliminated for the first time ever. She was the face of her team, she had arcs, she had dynamics, and she more or less had her very own episode, which is why Teapot 14 stings so bad. Screen time suicide is a term I just came up with to describe a scenario when a character does little to nothing for an entire episode and then gets put up for elimination. As you may remember, fan favorite Saw met a similar fate, except that was for the whole season. But Basketball's was by far the most egregious. 8 lines. That's all she had. 8 tiny lines. I'll play them all now and let me know if you notice anything.
Hey, now that Robot Flower's store is back online, we could always order... Thank you. Huh. I don't think it can handle all of us. Please. Wait, Ed, don't. Those guys had a huge head start already. There's no way. Hey, cool it.
Did you catch it? Almost all of these lines are generic and could have been said by anyone. Basketball herself doesn't do anything specific to her. You could very easily erase Basketball, get it, from the episode just by changing who says her lines. And I guarantee that nothing would feel out of place. Basketball has a presence in the episode, yet no purpose, which is what would lead her to getting eliminated with 8,441 votes. Nearly half of TV. She wraps up a conversation with Robot Flower, who also got eliminated, and they get very unceremoniously sent off. This sucks so bad. After Basketball made the deal in Teapot 13 and Robot Flower got fixed, she had no purpose in the story anymore. So they killed her. Which, can I just say, what were you thinking, guys? Michael? Aiden Gomez, you got any input? To be fair though, there is a chance that this was unintentional. I mean, Basketball did do pretty decent in her last Cake at Stake, and she did just have a huge role in the last couple of episodes. So maybe the writers just thought that she would be fine for an elimination. But even so, this is still severe malpractice. Characters like Fanny and Tennis Ball are able to do things like that because they're just that popular. But Basketball struggled to stay out of the bottom 3 for her entire run in Teapot. If she continued to get the treatment she got in episodes 7, 12, or 13, I don't think it would be a stretch of the imagination to say that she could still be competing today. I feel like I throw around the word robbed a lot, but this is a case where it truly applies. Basketball, after everything she did, went out in the most boring, disrespectful way imaginable. I was never the biggest fan of the character, but I mean it when I say Basketball didn't deserve her fate. She was kind of annoying in that one episode. We'll take her down to C tier.